evening and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. My name is Rodney.
And my name is Zach.
Zach, we had a great F1 race this weekend in Bahrain. How did you rate it? How did you feel it?
Well, the rating is a 10 out of 10. The feel, I'm going to say on the scale of like luscious, delicious caramel milkshake feel, I'd say it's 3.5 out of 4 caramel milkshakes. A really good feel.
I thought it would be. Caramel milkshakes, you say?
Yeah, there's a new shop that I've worked at. Well, it's new to me. There is a shop near me that sells all of the American treats. So I got myself some nice Reese's, Hershey's caramel sauce that I've been using in milkshakes, and it's been top-notch, Rod.
Man.
As good as the Bahrain Grand Prix.
We're not meant to be talking about snacks anymore, but you go and drag me back in. That does sound fantastic. We're meant to be talking about racing. Zach, let me ask you a question. Do you like your F1 with a side of civil unrest? Why not try Bahrain? A desert track featuring crosswinds and rather angry sandstorms. It twists and turns through 16 corners, each one more cornery than the last. Bahrain answers the question, what if a cheap haircut was an F1 track? It's got a little in the middle, but it's got much back. It's time to lower your visors and let the sparks fly as we bounce to Bahrain, baby.
Oh, man, this is the greatest thing. I will do the show for the rest of my days just to hear these
I'll keep them coming.
Croftian
I'll keep them coming
intros.
if you want them.
Oh,
I
want
got a
them.
feeling, they might get a bit stranger as the year goes on.
as you run out of superlatives to use.
Yeah, or as I just get imaginative. Maybe I just wake up one day from a fever dream, and then boom, check the notes app on my phone. There's a grumpy review of what Bahrain is. Zach, the Bahrain Grand Prix, it was an amazing race. Seriously, we're going to have a lot to talk about. We're going to look at the fantasy league, and then we've got a super quiz to wrap up the show a bit later on. I hope you're pumped. It's time for a bit of race talk. Do you want to hear a new race theme that I've whipped up?
Man, yes, of course.
Here we go. This is what I spent the last 2 whole weeks doing.
Let us race a bit. I gave him space.
Suck my balls, mate.
Let's hurry up and get out of here. We got a race to do.
12 seconds. It's 14 days, 12 seconds of audio.
I can remember when you first sent me these like bumper files, like years and years and years ago when you first sent me the first ones, and I was like, Rod, these go for like 3 minutes. Like, this is so long. And you're like, they're meant to be long.
You've got to build up the tension. That's what it's all about.
And
the first minute is about, drawing it out. The second minute, tease them back in. Third minute, surprise them. That's how good the bumper should be.
And now you've got that down to a fine art of 12 seconds. Incredible. I loved it. Great work.
It's true. Speaking about getting something down to a fine art, oh my God, I've been dreading this all week. I guess it's my time. We introduced this recently. We're going to introduce the races now with a 30-second recap challenge where we start a timer and we have to recap the race in 30 seconds.
So great.
Why did I do this to us, especially now that I have to do it? All right, well, I did watch the race. I'm familiar with it. I'm going to hit the timer and I'm going to see how I go. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, so Leclerc was on pole. He lost it at the start to Vettel. A bit shaky at the start, but he got the lead back. Brilliant move. Hamilton, Bottas didn't really seem to be on the pace, but they came back later. Vettel and Hamilton, man, what is Vettel doing? Every time he tries to overtake Hamilton, he spins. Bloody hell, you get to the end of the race, Leclerc looks like he's going to win, and then, boom, engine problem. He starts losing power, and he's not going to win. He looks like he might not even get a podium, but then both Renaults out with mechanical problems, saves him with a safety car in the last few laps, and he sails third.
Time to spare.
Bad.
I would say with time to spare.
I think I forgot to mention 16 or 15 cars there, but it doesn't matter. I think we got the basic points of the race out of the way there. So, Zach, this one's really all about Charles Leclerc, isn't it?
It is all about Charles Leclerc. The whole race weekend was about Charles Leclerc. He was topping practices. It looked like he'd been racing for 10 years in that Ferrari. He knew it so well, and it was... I wasn't surprised when he took pole, and he absolutely dominated qualifying and was 2/10 faster than Vettel. Like the Ferrari seemed to have unlocked whatever pace it was missing in Melbourne. There was a bit of chat about whether they were trying to fight against some reliability issues in Melbourne, so they had it running at like 90% instead of 100, which is what we saw a lot with. It reminds me of the Red Bull Renault the last couple of years where, Red Bull just couldn't run at full capacity because they were scared the Renault engine was just going to explode. And so Leclerc looks like he's going to cruise to an easy win, but just get such a poor start and stayed calm. he stayed so calm. He was just like, all right, I'm down in third. Just going to work my way back up. I'm going to get past this Valtteri Bottas dude first and then back up into get past Vettel with no trouble. You know, there was no hint of team orders this weekend. It was let everybody race, it turned out. And he was, you know, by the what I'm terming the kind of the last quarter of the race, 9 seconds in front, no one could touch him. It was just going to absolutely cruise. And then I had it, well, live, it looked like he was down exactly the kind of hybrid part of his engine. It seemed like he didn't have the extra bit of turbo boost or anything like that. But, Rod, it seems afterwards Ferrari said that it was a cylinder gone. What did you think?
I mean, they told him during the race, you've lost your battery. Like, that's what they told him. And we all just thought, well, that seems to make sense. But then later on, they were like, no, he's actually lost one of his cylinders. They're actually thinking about trying to resurrect the engine and run it on Friday in China. So we'll see. We'll learn more then, I suppose. But a bit of a strange one that they told him something during the race and then claimed after the race that it was something else, but it doesn't matter. I think really good that they let them fight. Really good attitude from Leclerc this race. After I said when he was in Melbourne, dude, you don't ask if you can race, you just race. This time he was right on the radio when he was pulling up behind Vettel and he said, I am faster. Or like basically saying, let me through. I'm not gonna give you any other choices. Let me through or we're gonna have problems. and they let them fight. They got, you know, there wasn't any problems, but they were getting wheel to wheel. So really, really good things from Ferrari. Tough times from Vettel. He said that he had a bit of a setup problem. Bottas also said he had a bit of problems. It was a real 2018 performance from Bottas, but he said after the race he had something stuck in his front wing. Who really knows? I mean, it's this is the Bottas of old. This is definitely not the Bottas that we saw a few weeks ago, but a surprise one too from Mercedes, a surprise non-podium from Ferrari. We got Leclerc on the podium, which was really good.
But it could have easily been. It could have easily been Max Verstappen on the podium instead.
Easily, probably should have been, all things being equal. Seb, though, just took himself out of contention with a dumb spin at a point of the track where cars were just washing out all day long and probably turned it a bit too sharply with Hamilton on the outside. Got on the power a little bit too much at the wrong time, wrong place, wrong time, and poor old Vettel, yet another spin, but took himself out of podium contention right then and there. This is just the kind of weekend that Mercedes is able to do, a 1-2 from out of nowhere that Ferrari just never seemed to be able to do.
Yeah, it's winning when you're crap. You know, when you've had a bad...
when you're crap.
They're not crap. I mean, they are definitely the second fastest team going around. But
I think we have the tape there that says that you called them crap. We are recording these things.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I think that Vettel struggles. When he's having an off day, it just doesn't, he just works a little too hard, he overplays it a bit. He plays a little too hard, whereas someone like Charles Leclerc this weekend just seemed to be like, okay, I know the limitations of the car, which seemingly to him were none. And it was working quite nicely. And then you have people like Lewis Hamilton, who I feel like he could turn up every weekend. I say this, it feels like he could turn up in a go-kart and still drag it onto the podium at this point in his career. He will make it work. And look, he might complain on the radio and he might not say things are working, but maybe that's just his way of giving feedback so they can change things and make it suit him more and more and more. So, you know, they said afterwards to Lewis Hamilton on the radio, you know, the team was like, what a great race, stellar drive. And he was like, we were really lucky, guys. There's a lot to work on. And Charles Leclerc is the real winner here. There's a lot more here. This is absolute luck that we in this way.
Speak about luck, and I want to get into this first round of pit stops. First of all, it was kicked off by Verstappen, who we all thought, he's trying to undercut, but then it turned out later he had a puncture, so whoops. Doesn't matter. He pitted
Great
when
strat,
he pitted.
Guys. Great strat.
They pitted Hamilton to cover Verstappen. Then they had the choice. Ferrari had a choice. Do we pit Vettel? Do we pit Leclerc? Leclerc was in the lead. And they pit Leclerc, I guess, to cover off Hamilton, thinking, well, you know, to be fair, he deserves the best strategy at the moment, so they pit Leclerc. My thinking, though, was they probably should have pitted Seb instead, because then Seb could have covered off Hamilton, and then they could have pit Leclerc. And if it was close, they could have told Seb, we had to pit you first to cover off Hamilton, but let Leclerc go, don't hold him up. You know what I mean? Like, they could have managed that. But instead, they pitted Leclerc. Hamilton pulls up on Leclerc and, you know, undercuts Vettel, and all of a sudden, Vettel's looking at third. He got back in front, but that's not really the point. The point is that, you know, I just thought that was that wasn't the optimal strategy. It's not what I would have done. They ended up on different tyre strategies, Hamilton and Vettel. So even though Vettel was on medium tyres, you would think that they would be slower, but Hamilton burned through his softs. So there was this sort of crossover point where Vettel still had reasonably okay mediums, and and Lewis had chewed up softs, and that's how Vettel got in front. So that was how he was able to chase him down, and then he spun. Duh. So yeah, I just thought
great racing. Whilst they were
very
fighting.
Good racing. Good racing from everybody.
I felt like, yeah. Well, I just feel like we didn't see it last year. It was all Hamilton and Vettel on paper, but not on the track. And last night, it was...
I was thinking about this because everyone's coming into this year expecting a continuation of the Hamilton and Vettel show. And then who do we get winning the first race? Old mate Valtteri Bottas. And who should have won this race? Charles Leclerc. This is topsy-turvy.
But thank God, right? Otherwise this weekend, if not for Charles Leclerc, this would have been a Kimi Räikkönen for fourth weekend, where he would have just been like, oh, guys, I tried to make it work, but I've qualified fourth again. And him and Valtteri Bottas chasing around Seb and Hamilton whilst they cruise to a 1-2, whilst, the two Finns just kind of, in no man's land, linked to the finish line. Thank God for Charles Leclerc, because the Red Bulls aren't quick enough. They just haven't unlocked this formula so far. And Verstappen is good, but he's an also-ran. He's definitely, it seems like Red Bull have been even further stranded in the gap between the rest of the pack and the real leaders in Ferrari and Mercedes.
Yeah.
And then we've got poor Pierre Gasly, who just looks a little out of sorts. We can come back to leaders if you'd like, but whilst we're here talking about Red Bull and Max Verstappen and who could upset the Ferrari and Mercedes, it really does look like it's only the Verstappen can do it, because Pierre Gasly just looks like he's still in a Toro Rosso.
I think it says something when a driver can be running in sixth and consider himself best of the rest. It used to be that you'd be seventh, but now that Pierre Gasly's in the mix, he's really making hard work of that car. He said something after the race along the lines of, this car's all over the shop, just that Max Verstappen is better at managing that and I'm not. Something like that. So he was still blaming the car. He's just saying, the car is still garbage, but Verstappen's better at dealing with it. So that's interesting. I hope, though, that he puts together a performance, because right now he is just begging to be dropped back to Toro Rosso. I don't know who they're going to promote. They're going to have to bring someone else into the team. But
it's Daniil. Daniil's going to be in Red Bull.
Daniil. Bring him in. Let him come like a torpedo. It'd be fantastic. Maybe he can do that again, and then Vettel can knock out Leclerc. And then Verstappen just romps to victory. A lot of interesting other stories beyond the leaders. I think we've covered the leaders. That's fine. There's the Renaults to talk about. Not just their bizarre exit from the race where they both crapped out at exactly the same time. Hülkenberg with some weird engine problem perhaps or something, and then Ricciardo just lost power. Just completely nothing happening. Just completely out of batteries. Not even a slow decline. Just nothing. And they weren't running so well anyway, because Ricciardo was on a one-stop strategy. He qualified the better of the two, and Hülkenberg was caught wrong-footed in qualifying and was doing a recovery drive. Ricciardo looking to launch into the top 10, which, to be fair, I think it's fair to say he was doing his best, but on a one-stop strategy it just was not working, and he was falling down the pack anyway. So they were both headed kind of in the wrong direction, and then a double DNF, killing their chances and my fantasy teams at the same time.
Aww.
Good.
It's, what are we going to say that it is about the Renault at this point? Because Ricciardo had to whip in a pretty nice, quick, lap out of nowhere to make it out of Q1 into Q2. And it wasn't looking, they just didn't look very quick. But then you have Lando Norris, in sixth as what you could say is the best of the rest. So why is the Renault package just so poor? It wasn't looking that great in Melbourne either. I was kind of expecting, my thoughts pre-season were that Renault would be able to make some gains and at least catch up to or be on the tail of Red Bull, and it just seems like they're not really in and amongst it. Do you have any? Do you think it'll come good? Or do you think it's just that Daniel and Hülkenberg are just kind of coming to grips with the car, or has Daniel Ricciardo made a fatal mistake and his career is just going to be forgotten because of this?
Oops. I think Daniel will get on top of the car and he'll be able to unlock a bit more of his own performance. That'll be good. It's not a good look when you're supplying engines to another team that is eating your lunch pretty easily. Great race from McLaren, it has to be said. They were way more competitive, and it's hard to believe. Not that long ago, they were down where Williams is now, routinely last. So, Great run from them. Why is it happening to Renault? I can't really say. Just don't know. It's like saying, well, why were Haas slow this weekend? There's no real reason for it. It's just sort of...
They're just not as quick.
Just the mysteries of Bahrain. It's just... I was so grumpy when I read that intro too. I'm sorry, Bahrain. You're not like a bad haircut. You're not like a bad haircut turned into an F1 track. You're fine. I didn't have much sleep. Good things ahead for Renault, I believe. Just not at this track. Maybe in a few more races. Who else is there to talk about? There seemed like there were lots of little scraps in this race. I remember Gasly was battling with a Toro Rosso again for some reason. There was who else came together? I think Giovinazzi tagged somebody.
It was Grosjean at the start, right?
Yeah, was Grosjean at the start? Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe there was someone else later on though, and he was like, "Whoops, sorry, didn't see you there."
I don't think. Yeah, I think it was Grosjean hit someone though, didn't he? What am I thinking? Maybe
probably. It's the sort of thing that he does. Double retirement to start the year for Romain Grosjean. No good there. His birthday's coming up, so hopefully in China he'll have a better race.
How old is he? 40? Something like that?
Romain 50, 60,
something
70.
Like that.
He's pretty old.
Like he's just been racing for so long and done so little. I'm really souring on Romain Grosjean. For some reason, I've run out of patience with Grosjean. It's no good.
I just don't. Yeah, it's so easy to lose your patience with drivers when you have a really good race and then really bad drivers just put in a typical subpar performance. Like, man, lift your game, especially Haas, because Magnussen just seems so kind of on it. If it can be gotten, he's getting it, making Grosjean look very average. When Grosjean's meant to be like the senior guy, he's meant to be the guy who's like showing Magnussen how to do it. Magnussen's just there with his cute eyes and his magnificent hair, telling everyone to suck. You know what?
It is funny when I look down the field, other than Lando Norris, it's just a bunch of guys. It's just a bunch of dudes who I couldn't pick a star amongst them. Like a few years, it's like we shuffled through our decks a couple of years ago over the last few years and got all the good ones in, Leclerc's there, Verstappen's there. They're all the top of their game. They're all there. But then it's just all the other ones who are all the we'll quick promote these 20-year-olds into Formula One. And now they're all just kind of stuck in these middle to low end teams, finding it very difficult they get points every now and again, but it's finding it very difficult to kind of stamp your name on the sport. And reflecting on what Charles Leclerc did last year, I think that's what makes what Charles did even more special, because he managed to kind of show how good he was with a car that was okay in and amongst a pretty competitive middle part of the grid. So this year so far, it's Lando Norris. Maybe he'll find himself in maybe he doesn't need to find himself in a different car. Maybe McLaren will be incredible next year, but even later this year. But
could be, and I know that Fernando Alonso is getting ready to jump back in the car for testing, and I'm sure he's just there to remind them, like, hey, if you guys score podiums later this year, maybe I'll might consider coming back again. I don't think that'll happen, but he's there to knock on the door. I'll tell you who I did. I like Lando Norris. He's impressing. The other guy who I was impressed with this week, unbelievably, Lance Stroll, who unleft himself against Max Verstappen.
Gold.
So good. That a pink car, that one of the racing points, I'll remind me to tell you something in a minute. One of the racing points decided to unlap himself against Max Verstappen. So good, because last time that happened, someone nearly got a black eye. Love it. Yeah. So Lance Stroll, you got my gold star 4 balls this week.
Okay, and you told me to remind you about a Racing Point thing.
Yeah, do you want to know? Do you know the full name for the Racing Point team?
Racing Point, and then do they have a sponsor? What is it? BHT?
Sport Pacer.
Yeah. Okay.
So do you want to know how I remember it?
Yeah.
Okay. Sport Pacer Racing Point. What's your power move? Pretty good. Joke for you, me, and probably 2 other people.
Yes. God, if you know
it's just perfect.
If you know what that is, you can tweet it as at Superlicense.
Congratulations to you.
That's a deep cut. That's how I'm going to remember
the deepest.
it. Sport Pacer Racing Point.
But it works perfectly, right?
It's so good.
Couldn't have asked for it to be better. I don't know if there's much else to dig into this race. I think that was pretty much it. It was a really good one, though. And definitely, as much as I whinge about getting up at 2 a.m. Oh, my God, 2 a.m. But it was really, really good. And, maybe not as good as my favorite race, which was 2014. But when I saw a photo of that recently, someone tweeted a scene of the great race from 2014. The rear wings on those old cars, they just look so dated and gross now. It's only 5 years ago. But now the cars look so much cooler.
What about the double dick noses, though, on the lenses? So good.
Let me just dry reach for a second.
So good.
Okay. Time to get away from this as fast as we can and get into fantasy focus. Theme coming. So, last week on Fantasy Focus, I said we had 69 members. Guess how many we've got now? 75. Thank you, 6 people.
Number.
Yes. Well, although it depends on your point of view, I suppose. Zach, out of the 75, you are 52, absolutely pummeling me on 54. Where I was in the high 20s. Now I'm in the mid 50s.
I'm dropping Daniel Ricciardo. I'm dropping Daniel.
Really?
Sorry, mate. You're out. I don't think he's not going to get a podium this year. I don't know who I'm going to pick up. It's good. Maybe I'll pick up one of the McLarens. Maybe I won't go Lando because everybody else will look at Lando and put him in. Maybe I'll put Carlos. Carlos of the signs of the junior. Put him in. But surely there's someone who's doing better than me, Rod, and probably you.
Oh, lots of people. We're at the top of the table for after the second round. Katie MPH, which I like to think of that as a speed. I'm doing Katie MPH. She jumped up to the top with an amazing performance this week. Lincoln the Naughty Dog in P2. Nice animal theme in our league. I like that. In third place at the moment, Jay Feith, who manages a team called Trains. You have to yell the name. And why is it called Trains instead of Cars? I don't get it. Jay Feith, please explain yourself. I did call out last week Mimi the cat, and we did get a photo. So thanks so much for sending in. Very cute photo of your little putty cat.
Aw. Are you a cat person, Rod?
No, I'm very allergic and I hate them.
Ah, okay, wow. Gee.
But I'm not allergic when I look at photos, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. God, I'm still laughing at Trains. I just think it reminds me of the Cars films, but then have they made a Trains film? I don't think so. They made Planes.
Oh.
I feel like Trains...
yeah, exactly.
Trains is Thomas the Tank Engine. That already exists.
It is. Don't get me started on Thomas the Tank Engine. The new theme song is terrible. I hate it.
They dumped?
Yeah. Oh, no, it's awful. It's got like all these words, and their words are not like they're all obscure words that like a kid wouldn't know. It's weird. Oh boy,
English
but
words.
that's yes, exactly. Time for us to get away from this. Let us test our knowledge with this week's super quiz.
We will accept a couple of questions.
Should one only win one? Would one want to have won that one in round one?
Can you repeat the question?
That's the other 12 seconds of audio that I made in the last 2 weeks. In my defense, I did not have a lot of spare time. Zach, it's time for a super quiz. I did the one last week. It's time for you to give me a quiz if you dare.
Oh man, I thought you almost spoiled my quiz a second ago because you were saying your favorite race was Bahrain 2014. This was the third time that Lewis Hamilton won Bahrain. And the first time he won it was in 2014, that race that you so love. So I was looking at 2014, just generally. And so we're going to do the 2014 season quiz.
Very
How do
good.
you feel about that? You feel good about that? That's good.
So far, I'm bloody loving it.
We had 11 teams in 2014. But I want to talk about free practice. You know how teams sometimes put in up-and-coming drivers? Every now and again they put a different driver in for free practice. You know about that, right?
I'm aware of that, yes.
Yes. In 2014, we had 11 free practice drivers who didn't drive a Formula One race. 11 randos is what I would call them.
Throughout the year?
Yes. 11
I thought you meant at Bahrain.
Wait.
I was like, wow.
So,
okay, throughout the year. Got it.
Throughout the year, all I want you to do, and I'm sorry, just give me 1 second because my tab has gone away. Sorry, there were 12. There were 12 free practice drivers, but I'm going to tell you 3, and one of them didn't participate. I'm just trying to...
got it.
It's very complicated, Rod.
That's good. It's good for a first question for it to be so complicated that you spend 30 seconds introducing it.
I have 3 drivers for you. The first one is Max Verstappen.
Oh, okay.
The second one is Roberto Merhi. And the third one is... Let me pull it up. It is...
Have you heard of the text document, mate?
It's Rubens Barrichello. Is the third one.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Those three
these
drivers, 2 of them...
There were so many drivers who participated in free practice in 2014. Here are 3 drivers. Practice. Roberto Merhi, Rubens Barrichello, and Max Verstappen. Which one didn't participate in free practice?
I'm going to say Roberto Merhi.
Ba-bow. It was Rubens Barrichello.
Should have guessed, given the long and obvious pause. I thought that was a fake out, but obviously not.
I'm on my work computer, and all my tabs and all my documents and everything are all in the wrong spots. It's a real.
Oh, I hate that.
It's a real bad run, Rod. Okay, here's another simple one for you. 2 drivers tied for the most amount of 10th places in 2014, with 4 each. So 4 opportunities for us to pick 10th correctly. Who were the 2 drivers? One is an absolute podcast favorite for picking 10th, and the other is just one of our favorite drivers.
Okay. So I'm trying to think back to 2014 and who was getting 10th all the time. We were like, this guy 10th all the time, this guy 10th. And one's our favourite guy. Daniel Ricciardo?
Oh, one of our favourite guys. It's not Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo, 2014. He finished on the podium.
Oh, he was winning races.
Felt like he was winning races. He was finishing on the podium. I don't think he finished lower than like 4th.
Doing okay.
Except when he retired.
That's right. Let's go. Oh, Daniel Kvyat?
No. But there is, okay, let me give you a hint because you're running, this is going to take all day. We basically always refer to him by, or we always put his nickname in the middle of his name. We always do.
Chico Perez.
Yes, there he is. Chico Perez,
I'm
4 times finishing 10th.
And who does he race for again?
He's
Ford Pacer Racing Point. What's your power move?
Okay. And then podcast, you and mine, favourite racer, one of our favourite racers. It's not Daniel Ricciardo.
Romain Grosjean?
No, it's Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi Räikkönen. It feels like so long ago that he was coming 10th. So this return to Alfa Romeo, or this racing for Alfa Romeo, kind of feels like this would be most people's understanding of Kimi Räikkönen, kind of poodling around near 10th.
Well, yeah, especially if you've only been watching for 5 years or so, because he's back there now.
Yes, that's right. Now, Rod, 2014, we had a race return to the Formula One calendar that year. It had been missing for a while. Can you tell me the country and the name of the circuit? But I'm going to give you a hint, Rod. The home team had their second worst race of the season there that year in 2014.
I'm going to guess maybe it was Germany?
No.
Austria?
Yes,
Austria.
Yeah.
Austria.
That's what you meant,
Had to be Austria, and it was Red Bull. Had their second. Yeah, of course they did. I remember that. They bought the track, did it up. Big deal that they went there. Bang. Worst performance of the year.
Yeah, it was horrible. Like,
how would you be?
Retirement and a bad performance. Like, especially because Daniel Ricciardo had been having such a good season up till that point. Like,
that's right. Famously won all those races and didn't come 10th ever.
Yeah, they were like, "Here, mate, you're gonna nail it," and then they got absolutely trounced. So yeah, no good. Well then, Rod, you know who had a lot of race drivers that year? It was Caterham. They had 4.
Did they?
Can you name 4 Caterham race drivers? Only one of which. Oh, wait, no, that's not even true. None of them are in Formula One anymore.
Okay. Good old Caterham. Good old those guys.
Nice and green.
Oh, you're going to say all the names, and I'm going to be like, I know, and I didn't think of it, but I know now. Roberto Mehi, is he one?
No, but he was one of the practice session drivers.
Of course he was, because you said that just a minute ago. Okay, now I've got to remember who was at Caterham and who wasn't. I want to say Pascal Wehrlein, but he might have been at that other one. Pascal Wehrlein.
No, Pascal Wehrlein. No. Where was he that year? Was he at Russia?
Yeah, he was at that other one, probably.
This is before him, I think.
Pre-Wehrlein.
I think this is pre-Wehrlein.
I say.
Yeah.
When I hear these guys, I'm telling you, when I hear these guys, I'm going to be like, yep, all those guys.
Would you like me to give you, I can give you one country?
Several hints, yes, please.
Yeah, okay. Japan?
Not doing it.
Okay. How about someone, his name kind of sounds like lottery.
Andre Lotterer.
Yes. Oh, you got the first name. I reckon that's a whole point right there, getting Andre.
Man, I deserve one whole point for one of the correct answers.
Yeah, this driver was dropped from Formula One last season, so he didn't make it into the 2019 grid.
Is the Ocon?
No. the other one. We only swapped one driver, didn't we?
Yeah, but now my mind's gone blank because there's too much pressure.
So the team was renamed.
No. So lots of teams changed names.
Sauber changed teams. Names
Yeah.
to Alfa Romeo, and they had another driver who's not there anymore.
Well, they had two because they got two new drivers.
Yeah.
Yep. So all I need to do is say the name of the other driver that wasn't Charles Leclerc that was there last year.
Yep.
That old mate. Bloody hell, this is embarrassing. No,
it's not embarrassing.
I haven't had enough
it's
sleep.
hard.
It's not going to come to me.
He also has a surname. Has a nickname that's like a phone company, or used to make mobile phones.
Surname.
Yep. Sony.
No. Sony Ericsson. Micah Sony Ericsson. Bloody hell. This is just tough work. It's just tough.
I'm gonna pull us out of this hole and just say the other one was Will Stevens. So
thank goodness you did. Bloody Will Stevens.
Yeah.
He had a good accent, that guy.
He did have a good accent. Did he have good hair as well? Or was that just Marcus Ericsson had good hair?
Might have just been so the thing with Will Stevens doesn't have good hair, but just has a good head shape. Just shape of it's just good, like a melon.
Just a good melon-shaped head.
Yep.
I'm really going to make you remember two more driver names, and that'll be the end of the quiz. So,
I don't know my name right now.
No, you're going to know this one. Lotus
okay,
F1.
yes. Confidence.
You remember them? Lotus Renault F1 racing team.
Yep.
They had the Renault Energy F1 2014. They had their two main drivers. One of which was French, Romain Grosjean. They had one driver, another one, who I'm going to make you guess in a second. And then they had two free practice drivers who were Charles Pic, or Say Chic,
Freak out.
Yeah, and Esteban Ocon. So that means of their four drivers who drove that car that year on race weekends, three of them were French. Can you tell me who the main other driver was?
Was it not Kimi Räikkönen?
No, it wasn't. He's one half of the famous Bahrain 2014 flipping photo.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah, it was Pastor Maldonado.
How about that? Three French and a Venezuelan.
Well,
amazing.
I mean, that's just a good time.
So we know I've given you one half of the famous car flipping over photo with the two drivers looking at each other dead in the eyes, but one happens to be upside down.
One upside down, yeah.
So who's the guy who's upside down?
Esteban Guitar Hero.
Yes. See, you get the hardest name of all.
Well, who could forget it? Forget it? If your name was Esteban Rock Band, I'd remember your name as well.
Esteban Rock Band, Rocky Rock Band. That's the 2014 quiz. Done.
Thank God. Let's just burn that to the ground and bury it, because maybe my worst performance ever.
Funny, as writing it, I was like, oh, this might be a bit easy.
It's too easy, yeah. You just got to factor in the lack of sleep and just generally the day that I've had.
All right. Well, what I'm thinking is maybe because the other option was going to be maybe I could get the new driver names and put them in an anagram generator, and I put Charles Leclerc in to start with, and they were all just looked exactly like Charles Leclerc. They were there's not enough different letters in his name to make interesting words.
It is a bit samey, first name and last name. Like you could rearrange the letters and just make the name again.
Yeah, it's like races sell Lech, and you're like, all right.
Yeah. Gives it away a bit.
Yeah. Maybe I'll throw some other names in. We'll get a different quiz out of there. Or a Twitter profile, face quiz name.
I reckon the trick to that one will be to put all the names in and then just pick, the three or four best, the most difficult ones, which, given my form, not hard. Are we going to finish with some final thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, I think so.
I had a final thought. This is a bit of a weird thought. I'll take you on a bit of a journey here. Bahrain, night race, lots of sparks. And I was thinking, there's always bands playing at races and after qualifying and after the race. They should get Sparks over there, the band Sparks over there to play. It just writes itself. But the thing it reminded me of, Singapore this year, there's lots of musical acts playing, outstanding musical acts. We saw great musical acts there when we were there, Zach. We saw Robbie Williams slipping around on stage. Saw Jennifer Lopez shaking her booty.
Also shaking her booty on stage, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This year, shaking his booty on stage, Hans Zimmer.
What?
Hans Zimmer, after the race, is playing for the crowd, delighting the locals. Playing his hits. You remember his hits like, BOOM. And then he'll probably, when he has to do an encore, he'll probably do, And then he'll do. And then bomb.
I needed him for the 2014 quiz.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that'll be the fancy focus theme as well, I reckon.
Is it going to be a whole orchestra or just like a little quartet led by Hans Zimmer?
I just don't know, because
what does he play?
I was looking on YouTube for clips of his songs, and he does, lots of movies, and you sort of think, oh yeah, it's all bomb, and then there's real songs in there, but they're all from movies. But you don't know them, like they're not memorable. So unless they show clips of the actual movies while the songs are playing, I don't know, it's weird.
I feel like he famously did the theme music or the background music or the music for Call of Duty Black Ops 2, something like that, or just Black Ops. I feel like he did the video game music for a shooty game. A murder game, right? A murder game.
I mean, there's so much money. It's ridiculous money in video games, like probably as much, if not more, than, movies. So it wouldn't surprise me. There's tons of movies that, like, when you actually think about it, like, it's quite a few. But that was my final thought, is that, everyone, like, Singapore is going to be like, there might be an earthquake when Hans Zimmer unleashes his bombs through the big audio, the Marshall stack,
It actually could be a really like visceral experience, because if it's like typhoon rain like we had after qualifying with Hans Zimmer playing and like the water vibrating in the air and like just sit there in the rain with your eyes closed listening, getting all zimmered out, I think that'd be rad.
Yeah. And if you've got a loose tooth that you want knocked out, just lie on the ground. It'll sort that out. Zach, that was my thought. Have you got a final thought for us this week?
My final thought was I was going to try and do, like a lot of other listeners to the show have done, and other people in the Super License universe, pair a beer with the race, Rod. Pair a beer with the race. And I did that for Melbourne. Luckily, my little off-license corner shop across the road has, I think, 5 different Australian beers, which is very nice. Very, very nice. But for Bahrain, I couldn't find one. And I don't know if there is one. So if anybody would like to email us at superlicencepodcast@gmail.com or tweet at us at superlicense, a Bahraini or beer substitute that I could have for the 2020 Bahrain race, that would be great.
I guess that's probably why you couldn't find one. Not allowed to have them there.
No, exactly. So maybe there's a business in that. Maybe we should open the first brewery in secret in Bahrain. But I
love it.
Yeah. That was what I did do then, is I had no beer and I went beerless and I made myself caramel milkshake instead.
Well, you know what you need to do is make a caramel milkshake beer.
That might be a bit rough. That might be a little rough for me. Do you like the weird flavor beers? The ones that it's like, I had a marshmallow porter from a shop near me the other day, which was nice, but it doesn't taste like beer. It's kind of like a different thing. It's yummy, but a different thing.
The ones I like are ones like the like a raspberry IPA or like that's really about it. I actually not crazy on the beers at the moment. The idea of drinking like a chocolate stout just doesn't really it just makes me want to kind of vom, really.
Makes me want to have chocolate. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this,
I can just
have
eat
a chocolate milkshake?
Yeah. And while I'm having a chocolate milkshake, just give me a caramel one instead. Well, yeah, Zach, as you mentioned before, people should follow us on the Twitters at Superlicense. Don't forget to join the Superlicense group, Superlicense Universe. We're all in there having a good time. It's a small, intimate group at the moment, and we're having hella fun, boy. And join us the next race. It's very, very close to my birthday. It's a couple of days away. And I realised, actually, I've got tickets to go and see a comedy show that starts at the same time the race finishes. So I'm going to be watching the Chinese Grand Prix on my iPhone while in the city, as God intended.
As it was meant to be. As it was meant to be enjoyed on the small screen.
Mm-hmm. Finally, that small screen experience for Rod. So, yeah, think of me suffering away watching it on my little 4-inch screen. On the train, probably, because that's how I roll.
How far away is this race? When is it?
It's 2 weeks. Nice 2-week break.
Nice
Actually,
break.
The front of the season is pretty good, 2 weeks all the way.
Relaxing.
Well, until next time, it's going to be 2 weeks away. So until next time, at the Chinese Grand Prix, we'll see you then. My name's been Rodney.
My name's been Zach.
Cheerio. Oh, yeah.
Sports racer, racing sports. What's your power move?